There are umpteen different ways to create mortise and tenon joints, and most of them involve using two different power tools and two entirely different tool setups. Well, imagine the time and effort you could save if you could cut both halves of the joint using just one power tool and one tool setup. Well, that's exactly what you can do with the Lee FMT Pro mortise and tenon jig. In this video, I'm going to show you how it works to create a mortise and tenon joint that looks like this. Recently, for the February 2021 issue of Woodworker's Journal, I built this break front plant stand, and it involved cutting more than 50 mortise and tenon joints. If ever there was a good opportunity to find a faster and easier way to cut mortise and tenon joints, this was it. That's why I called on Lee Industries to give their FMT Pro mortise and tenon jig a try. Now, you probably know Lee as a manufacturer of top quality dovetail jigs, like this RTJ 400 model here. But you might not know about the FMT Pro. Now, it's not a new jig for the company, but frankly, it's one that doesn't get as much press. But like their dovetail jigs, the FMT Pro is a router-based system. It uses these interchangeable template guides to route both the mortise and tenon of the joint with spiral bits. Let's take a closer look at the FMT's major components. The base of the jig is this three-sided aluminum housing with a knurled surface milled into its front face and a series of long and short slots. This is the surface for clamping both the mortise workpiece and the tenon workpiece. These slots accommodate the T-bolts of Lee's proprietary cam action speed clamps. Two of them come with the FMT Pro, and they're adjustable to clamp a wide range of stock thicknesses. These cam action clamps are similar to the ones you'll find on Lee dovetail jigs. You can adjust them without any tools, and in my experience, they provide rock-solid clamping action. This adjustable side stop ensures that the tenon workpieces are square to the jig's table, and it can provide a helpful clamping surface for the ends of the mortise workpieces. In most situations, you'll probably be cutting tenons that are straight in relation to the long grain of the wood. But if you need to cut angled tenons and mortises, such as for chair construction, the clamping surface of the FMT's base can tilt up to 30 degrees. Lee also equips the FMT Pro with dust collection to help keep the work area cleaner during routing. The FMT Pro comes with this thick, sturdy aluminum subbase for your plunge router, and it rides on top of the jig's table. And you can see that it's drilled to accept many popular mid-size plunge routers. These two tapered pins on the bottom of the router subbase are important because they control the path of the router on the FMT's table and in relation to the template guides. Both pins are adjustable with knobs on top, and they enable you to refine the fit of a tenon in its mortise by thousandths of an inch easily. So far, we've talked about the FMT's base, workpiece clamping system, and the plunge router subbase. The last big element is the FMT's tabletop. It's a half-inch thick aluminum plate with a number of features that set up the joint making process. When a clamp lever on the right-hand side is released, the table slides smoothly forward and back as well as left and right, wherever it's needed to zero in on the center point of the mortise or tenon you need to cut. And this plastic joint aligning sight on the tabletop extends outward into the routing area to locate the layout crosshairs on your workpieces. This slot here on the right-hand side receives one of the tapered pins on the router subbase. And this opening here on the left-hand side is where the template guides fit. The templates simply snap down into place. And here's where the FMT Pro can save you time and effort. Each of these plastic templates cuts a specific size mortise and the tenon that goes into it. For many joints, you'll use the same router bit and the same jig setup to cut both halves of the joint. All you need to do is switch from one workpiece to the other. Lee provides 5 templates and a carbide spiral bit with the FMT Pro for cutting 5/16 inch joints with mortises from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches long. Lee also offers 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch template guide sets and the bits to cut these joints as accessories. By mixing and matching templates and bit sizes, you can cut joints ranging from 1/16 by 1/8 inch up to 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches for a total of 64 custom joint sizes. For my plant stand project here, all of my mortises were 1/4 inch wide. So to show you how the FMT Pro system works, let's make one of those joints. We'll make the mortise 1/4 inch wide, 1.5 inches long, and 1.25 inches deep. and we'll machine the tenon to fit it. To get set up, I've marked crosshairs on my tenon and mortise workpieces where I want the joint to be. I've installed Lee's 1/4-inch spiral bit in my plunge router, and I've snapped the 1/4-inch by 1.5-inch template guide into the tabletop. You can choose which side of the joint you want to route first. It doesn't matter. So, let's cut the mortise. Here I'm clamping my mortise workpiece horizontally to the jig, and I'm using the side stop to support the free end of the workpiece for added stability. Now I can set the router's plunge depth to 1.25 inches off of a mark on my workpiece. Now, let's sight in the center of the mortise. With the joint aligning sight extended, all I need to do is unlock the FMT table and move it until the sight is lined up over the crosshairs I drew on the workpiece. Then I can lock the table again. Now to route the mortise, I'm going to put the pins of the subbase into the long slot here and into the slot at the center of the template here. Now I can start routing. Here, I'm plunging the bit all the way down to the full mortise depth in a series of side-by-side passes to remove most of the waste. I plunge the bit, raise it up, shift the subbase, and repeat. When I'm done with this step, the mortise looks like this. That takes care of most of the waste. Now I can clean up the rest. And doing that is a simple matter of plunging to full depth again and sweeping the router back and forth, following the inside of the template slot. That's all there is to routing it. Take a look. The mortise has smooth, clean walls and rounded ends. It's ready for glue. Now, let's route the tenon. Once I have my tenon workpiece mounted vertically in the jig, I can unlock the table and sight in the tenon crosshairs, just like I did for the mortise. Now, I can route the tenon. It's also a two-step routing process. This time, instead of having the subbase pin in this center slot, I'm going to feed the pin around the perimeter of the template instead. The first pass will be clockwise to climb cut a bit of the waste away all the way around. Then subsequent passes will be counterclockwise to remove all the rest of the waste. Here's the first clockwise pass. The purpose is to just shave away a little material that will help to reduce splintering and tear out. Now I'm routing counterclockwise. This is where the bulk of the waste gets removed. The goal is to keep routing until the pin is pressed firmly against the template to make sure all the waste gets routed away. When I'm done, the tenon looks like this. These tenons come out of the FMT Pro as neat as a pin, which to me just testifies to how well the FMT Pro is manufactured and how tight its tolerances are. It looks like I could have made this tenon on a CNC machine and not with a handheld router. But the real wow factor is how well the joint fits together. Now that's a good fit. But you're probably not going to get this result in your very first try. Any joint making operation, regardless of the tool or the jig, is going to require some fine tuning. But on the FMT Pro, it's very simple. Just turn this left-hand knob on the subbase left or right to tighten or loosen the fit. Each 1/8 turn changes the fitment by 0.02 of an inch. Routing the 50+ mortise and tenon joints for this plant stand was an easy process with the FMT Pro, and I didn't have to create multiple machine setups with my table saw, drill press, hollow chisel mortiser, or even the router table. It could all happen right here with one jig and one bit. And even better, right out of the jig, these joints were ready for glue up. You can learn more about the Lee FMT Pro mortise and tenon jig, including even more custom joinery it can make, by visiting leetools.com. I'm Chris Marshall with Woodworkers Journal magazine, and thanks for watching.